Hello, everyone. My name is Julie Floyd. I am the founder and CEO of Styled Life and the Styled Life Crown Club. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, this evening, for the latest installment of our monthly webinars. This evening, I'm so excited to welcome back Aevin Dugas, who is a world record holder for the largest afro in the Guinness Book of World Records. Yay and congratulations. And just looking at you, of course, your hair is gorgeous. You are gorgeous. And I know we're all going to learn so much tonight, having you here again, and looking forward to your discussion on protective hairstyles that aren't necessarily braids. I'm going to go ahead and share your presentation, and then you can get started.
Okay, thank you, Julie. So basically, I'm not here to talk about afros today, y'all. I rarely talk about afros. Let me just say that. Basically, I'm here to speak on protective styling because I do protective styling, but it's not the styles that you would normally think of, right? So usually when you think of a protective style, you automatically think of like braids or like a sew-in or something of that sort that keeps your hair hidden for a couple of months. And then when you take it out, you see length. Well, first of all, you're going to see length because our hair is always growing. And that's why when I hear people say my hair doesn't grow, I'm like, and I'm sure y'all have heard this already. If your hair didn't grow, you would be bald by now because our hair naturally sheds a couple of, well, like 100 hairs a day. So if you're detangling your hair every day, you're losing 100 hairs. If you kept doing that over and over and your hair literally wasn't growing from your scalp, then you would have no hair left. You may be having problems retaining your length, but certainly not growing your hair. Now, so yes, of course, if you put braids in or something where you haven't seen your hair for a while, then yes, you're going to notice growth. But there are other styles that you can do that aren't as that don't have as much tension that grow your hair. I don't go to braids and stuff like that. So like number one thing for healthy hair, because I'm really more of a healthy hair person than a long hair person, even though my hair has grown out, but my hair is also healthy, is moisture. And how do you get moisture? It's not by putting products in your hair. It's not by putting oils in your hair. It's not even by necessarily misting it. Like those are things you can do for upkeep. But how you get moisture is by putting water in your hair, like shampooing. So every time you shampoo, that's like your hair's dose of water. And I'm a 7 to 10 day shampoo person. And that's just my choice because that's what works for me. And as you can see, my hair has grown out a lot. I've always been a 7 to 10 day person. And the reason is this, you know how like if you go on a trip, like maybe you go, trip somewhere and you're gone for a week or over a week and you watered your plant before you left. And then no one's there to water the plant. And when you come back, you see all these leaves on the ground. Well, that's because the soil dried out. Well, the soil is our scalp and the leaves are our hair strands. So in order to keep the plant, the flower, or our hair growing is to constantly add water. And how you give your hair the biggest and best dose of water is by shampooing it. So if you're not shampooing your hair for weeks, months at a time, then right there could possibly cause the problem. I am not knocking any of these styles because I absolutely love them. It's just that there are other options. Okay, so let's talk braids for a minute. So I love braids. I absolutely do. I haven't gotten any just because my own hair makes me itch, and I've heard the stories of how, the hair can make you itch and stuff. But think about this. Like when I've looked, I've gone with friends to get their hair braided and whatnot. A lot of times the goal at a braid shop is to get you in the chair and get you out the chair. There's not necessarily they're not trying to necessarily grow your hair. Like I see people braid hair and as I'm styling my hair, I'm detangling every few, if I'm plaiting my hair, then I'm going to comb through and detangle every few times I do it. And I do that to keep the curls or the hair all in line. Because basically, if you're braiding hair that's already being tangled, because, once the curls start moving, the tangles come. If you're braiding hair that's already tangled and then you sweat, because normally that's what we do, when you sleep, you sweat, when you work out, you sweat, just on daily life, you sweat, or you get caught in the rain and you're just moving around, just doing things. If your braiding tangles into these braids and then you get other factors coming in like water, sweat, and anything else, now you have extra tangles. And tangles, if not detangled correctly, can cause breakage if you're not very careful when it comes to, when it's time to detangle. So a lot of times when I see people taking braids out their hair, it is because when I see them shedding, well, like going through a lot of tangles and stuff, because technically, if you braided hair that was pretty much, detangled every time, when you go to take the braids out, it shouldn't be that tangled. A lot of times it's tangled because they've braided in tangled hair with this hair. So that's the beginning of a problem right there. And then there's tension alopecia or braiding too tight. I know most people, I'm sorry, traction alopecia. I know most people pride themselves on being able to braid eyebrow hairs. That's just not smart because the tighter the braid, like, see how I'm pulling my scalp? Imagine, I'm trying to show y'all. I like to show with my own hair. But imagine, so this strand pulling on there, it can only stay there for so long before it's going to pluck out. And once you put that tension in there, and you get the redness around here and you're sore, and then it's like, oh, I had to take aspirin or I had to take ibuprofen, which no style should call for that. But you got this hair that's being pulled, and it stays like this. This starts getting red, then this starts getting sore. Sometimes you start getting bumps, and then sometimes it's itching right there because you've irritated your scalp, which is now, once the irritation goes to heal, it's going to itch. Then you're not watering it because you can't wet this hair necessarily, or you're just putting, like you say, if you're getting in and out of a pool, you're watering it, but you're not really, doing the proper things to also help with moisture like products and whatnot. When it is time to take your hair loose, those hairs that were there, they're just going to come out. And your edges are kind of like, besides the ends of your hair, to me, your edges are like very, you have to be careful. Like, if we're calling them baby hairs, then don't you think we need to treat them a little nicer? So when you're pulling these baby hairs to braid it in, it can't take it can only stay there for so long before it gives up. And that's how you end up with traction alopecia. And traction alopecia is completely preventable. It's only because you're putting your hair in tight styles that you have traction alopecia. And after a while of pulling your hair in these tight styles over and over and over again, your hair does not grow back because everything down here and underneath our scalp is destroyed. So now it doesn't have the ability to grow back. I hope I'm making sense to y'all.
Yeah. Aevin, I'm gonna ask you two questions. One, let me know if I'm on the correct slide. And two, when you mention hair being braided in too tight and braids too tight,
Mhm,
how does one know if it's too tight? You mentioned the redness and the pulling
mhm.
and all of that, but is it okay? Like if it's a little loose for the health of your hair?
Yes, to me, I would think a little looser. And also, you have to be careful. I'm glad you asked that because that leads into the other thing. If you're putting that much braid hair in your hair, and say you have like fine hair, meaning thin strands of hair, then it's going to be too heavy, which is another way to end up with your hair coming out. And it's too tight. Well, if you're doing this, and you have a headache afterwards, and you have to take some kind of pain medicine to wear it, then it's too tight. My sister, matter of fact, my sister got her hair braided one time ever in life, and I'll never forget because when she came here, her hairs were so tight that the skin in between was puffing up. The skin in between her scalp was puffing up in between each, and I was standing in this room, and I'm looking like, oh, your hair is cute, because I'm like, girl, that is too tight. But she had to spend all this money getting this, and she was like, it hurts so bad. Like, if you end up with like automatic Botox from a hairstyle, meaning now your ivory forehead can't move, it's too tight. So it's really not hard. And then you can tell, well, I don't know, because I don't know braid shop etiquette, But I'm sure you can ask them, like, can you, braid it looser? But I know everyone, that's the whole thing. Like, she can braid all the hair. You don't need all of that braid.
Mm.
You don't need all of that. Yeah, because basically you have to advocate for yourself and for your hair with any
Right.
stylist. If if you feel something, if you're not comfortable with something, then I would assume if you say it nicely, it won't be a problem.
So would you say that part of what we as like a culture of people with natural hair who have had braids, I've had braids, is to get more comfortable with having them looser and maybe not having the braids in as long.
Yeah, I would say so, only because I always meet people, and I know people and family and friends, and they're like, it pulled my edges out. Sometimes it's one time. Those braids pulled my edges out. I lost a plug of hair in the middle of my head. I'm hearing it too much. And I'm just looking. And when I see some of them when they first get their hair done, it's pretty because I get it. You got the clean parts, it's pristine, it's crisp. Your hair, the braids are crisp. I understand that. But I'm looking and I'm like, that's going to be a problem. So I think people should get used to asking for looser braids and doing looser braids just to give your scalp, because if your scalp's not healthy, your hair can't do anything. A damaged scalp can't grow. It's like damaged soil. That's like soil with acid in it. It's not going to grow a flower, you know? So our scalp is the same way. If it's damaged and, like healed and, well, cut and then healed and cut and healed from constantly getting tight braids in the hair or tight styles, even if you braid it to the scalp or, the long hanging braids, after a while, it won't work the way it used to.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So, let me see.
Well, I'm on the moisture slide.
Okay. Yeah, so I talked about,
Yeah.
so when I said when it comes to moisture, your best friend is water. Because you know how they say products can, help a little bit. Misting your hair every night is nice, but after some days you do need to wash your hair, because even I noticed, even if I have misted my hair in the past, after some days it's like I missed it and then it's nice and then it's crunchy and then it's nice and then it's crunchy. So I feel like that's where it's time to shampoo to remove all the buildup from my scalp and from my strands and start the process all over. So we can go to the next one. Okay, so I just spoke about this shampooing. I am an advocate. I have always been, and I see now that it's a thing, and I'm happy to see it's a thing. I use a clarifying shampoo. I use that and I shampoo my hair. Mind you, I wash my hair 7 to 10 days, span every 7 to 10 days. I use a clarifying shampoo and wash it probably about 3 times. And I like to get it what I call squeaky clean, because like right now it's in a wash and go, but there's a lot of gel on here. There's sweat because I have sweat. My scalp is dirty. So I need to get all of that dirt off. So just, I think sometimes people think one good shampoo or two good shampoos is enough. To me, I've learned that natural hair needs just a little bit more because, it's thicker. Even if it's not super thick, it still has a lot more. The shampoo has to get through all of these curls. So you may have to do it 3 times to get, like for me, I clarify 3 times. I wait until it's squeaky clean. And then I follow back with a moisturizing shampoo and my moisturizing conditioner. And then I put my gel back on, my gel of choice back on. I don't use a leave-in because leave-ins have started acting weird with my hair and making that white stuff in my hair. So I've actually found a gel that I like that doesn't have that. I don't need a leave-in for. Apparently they say it has enough oils in it and whatnot to hold your hair. And this is a 7 day wash and go. And my hair still looks good and she feels fine. She's soft. She's not crunchy or anything, and I don't mist it at night. I put it into a bun, and that's how I preserve it at night.
Even, but can I ask you a detailed
Yes.
question about the squeaky clean? So,
Mm-hmm.
um, when you say squeaky clean, is it that feel like when your hair, like it almost You know when you put the conditioner in and you're like, "Okay,
Mhm.
fine, I can start to put my hands here," but squeaky clean, it's just like it's
Yeah.
literally it feels like you can't
Yeah,
do
it's
anything.
like
Is that what you're looking for?
yeah, it's like this, like when
Yes.
I can hear the squeak,
Okay.
like you can feel it. You don't hear it, but you can hear it when you're shampooing it. I put my hair in four sections, but the first time I shampoo with clarifying, there's still like you can just feel it on your hair. It's one of those things. I always say pay attention to your hair because for me, I can feel things as I'm doing it. So you can feel where I still have product on it. By the second time, it's getting squeaky, but it still feels, I can still feel that product. By the third one, it's like, okay, she's good.
So
And
literally you mean like stripping off the
strip
dirt,
all of that. Yes. And I've
the
always done
product, all of that, so that you're
that.
starting with a clean
Mhm.
canvas.
I
Okay.
concent Yeah, and I concentrate on all the hair from the scalp all the way to the ends, and I take the ends and I tend to do this, just to make sure to get all of that crap off because the ends have been with us the longest, and I need them to be completely clean so when I go to put a product on, they're not dry because they couldn't receive the product because they were still, past residue.
That's so interesting. I think that sometimes when I get to that,
Hmm.
or maybe I avoid that squeaky clean because I have assumed.
Yeah, because it feels you would think like you're damaging your hair. That's why you follow in with the moisturizing shampoo as well as a moisturizing conditioner. So that's the thing. We're not gonna leave it. I even did a test of myself where I was like, let me try doing just clarifying shampoo and then coming in with a moisturizing conditioner. But after a couple of times, I didn't like it. So, and for someone that just may work, which by the way, if you find something that works for you, then stick to it. Even if what I'm saying right now with braids, if braids work for you, that's fine. But I know a lot of people are having problems with, when they get their braids done, it's coming out. So, another thing. So y'all, when they clean up the braids, like when they finish, they cut the hairs that are poking out the braids. I've seen people do that and they call it cleaning it up. That's your hair a lot of times. So you're really kind of, in my mind, I would imagine you're getting a bad haircut. Because if we're just cutting hairs and we don't know which hair that is, because even though our hair may look one length, when you braid it in, there are different lengths in there. So when they're cutting all these hairs off, you don't know if they're cutting your hair or if they're cutting the braid hair. And you won't notice it. So you may think, oh, my hair broke off when I got braids when you take it to loose. And it may just very well be that no, you just got a wonky haircut because when they went to clean up the braids, they cut some of your hairs out. So now your hair is uneven. For example, when I used to wear my hair in an Afro puff, the back of the nape of my neck, the hairs would get straight after a couple of days. And I would always take the hairs, gather them, just grab them like this, and then take scissors and cut them. And I would do this all the time, right? No big deal. And then one time I went to press my hair and I saw that I had like this whole weird, I don't know, thing going on in the back because I'm just thinking, oh, I'm just getting rid of the straight hairs, but it adds up over time. So I'm saying if you're getting this kind of stuff constantly over and over and over again, that could be something you should concern yourself with. Another one when it comes to braids, and again, I'm not knocking braids because I love them. I love to see people with them. They're so pretty, but I'm just like, just be careful with them. When the braids are super small, be careful of those because when it's time to take those braids loose, you have to do a lot of, when you take that little the rat tail comb and do this, now you've got this metal going up against your hair strands to pull it loose. These are other ways that it can be damaging to your hair because now it's hitting the strands as you take it loose. And to me, like I remember one time I asked a cousin of mine, she was an older cousin, and I asked her one time, could she plait my hair? And we were just sitting there and I let her plait my hair. Y'all, she literally plaited down to where there was three strands of hair left and she plaited those three together too. And when I went to take it loose, it was so hard to take a loose because she had put the plaits so tiny to where you can't help but have hair breaking off because it was just too small. So be very careful of, plaiting all the way to the end to where it's like, just, that very end. to where make sure the hair is even if you can, which I know sometimes that's hard. But when you're plaiting it, it's not to where you're just using like six hairs and you're gonna braid all the way to the end. So now you have to literally sit there and use something like a wire to detangle your hair because that's good for parting. But when you get down to the nitty gritty and you're trying to take these hairs loose and you're rubbing it against that wire, those are the type of things. And then that's your ends, because it's always hard at the ends, right? Once you
Yeah.
get up some, it's easy as those ends. The ends have been with us the longest. So then you end up with frayed ends because you've been jabbing it with
But
this wire.
that leads me to another question.
Mm-hmm.
Are super thin braids not are worse for your hair than like a braid that you don't have to actually dig in with like a comb un to separate the braids?
Yeah. I think it really depends on the person. Some people may not even mind it because some people don't care about those kind of things. Like, it's fine, I'll just put some more braids in, it's no big deal. But a lot of times when I think about stuff, it's like, look at it, just look and pay attention, especially if you plait it all the way to the very end to where it's like, how you can do a braid all the way to the end, but it's flat straight across, so it's very easy to take a loose. When it's that small, that's just really hard. So I would imagine, to me, the taking a loose process for something that is much smaller can be a little bit more damaging to your ends. Because as I said, once you get it, you can kind of do this and it'll come loose. But taking a loose, those really small ones at the end, I just feel like aren't healthy for your ends. And the quickest way to mess up your hair, if your ends start splitting, because you've used a wire to jab at it and mess up the hair shaft, it's just going to break, and that's where you lose length retention. you know you can't you can't keep your ends, which is going to cause your hair to break up, and if you're trying to grow your hair, then you have a problem. Okay, so another one, let me see if your hair is in the style for weeks of the month. That okay, braids, while although beautiful, even with your own hair, can be a dangerous style if not done correctly. We can go to the next one. Okay, and I spoke on traction alopecia. You see how the edges of this girl's hair. Now, she may very well have alopecia, but just in general, she may have well just have lost her edges and they're coming back. But basically, like at the bottom, the bald spot, if you're constant, and this can happen with a bun too. So I'm very careful when it comes to my bun, not to always keep it in a bun and to be careful how tight I pull it, because basically traction alopecia can be from any style. Like if you wear your hair pulled up back right here and it's constantly pulling, you can also get traction alopecia from that as well. It's just that with braids, because you have that intense, the tightness of the braid, and if you're putting that in the same spot every time, I don't know if y'all have ever heard, like Julie, I don't know, you ever heard when people tell you switch your part up sometimes so
Yeah,
your hair doesn't start falling? If you're doing that same motion every time, same motion, your hair's going to fall off in that same area every time.
yeah.
Yeah. So we can go to the next one.
I try to switch my part every time I wash my hair. Just
Yeah, I go from this side to this side to the middle. Okay, and I spoke on this as simple as a bun. Beautiful. And I love a bun. Let me just say, to me, now I used to do wet buns. I can't lie. And wet buns are not good for your hair because, they don't dry unless you actually go and sit under a dryer. But to me, a bun just goes with everything, right? But you do have to be careful. As I said, pulling on it constantly, those edges will start disappearing. I love a good slick bun, but even I am very careful. And if I feel where it's like, ooh, my scalp is hurting, then I have to take my ponytail holder loose and I let it sit and let it dry. And then when I put it back in, I don't put it in as nearly as tight because I don't want to go and mess up my scalp in the same direction every time that I put it in a bun.
I think that's important. I used to for a long time keep my hair like if my hair was wet, put it in a tight bun. And I
Mhm.
heard that at some point and I thought, "Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
and maybe if I have just a few braids, I thought, oh gosh, maybe I'm doing everything too tight." So I have started loosening
Yeah.
that up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm don't get I've messed up my hair before too. Y'all are gonna say I've messed it, so I don't know it all as much as I have been through a lot. So I'm just sharing my information with y'all so y'all don't have to go through what I went through. Like I remember I used to do buns all the time in the middle right here. surprisingly, the middle was always super dry, but I wasn't letting that hair dry. So it was just like all messed up. My poor hair didn't know what to do. Just right here in the middle, there was just a spot of hairs that were just like wiry and dry all the time. And I realized, and then I thought, oh, they just, they're not, something's going on with them. And I realized my hair is breaking right there because I'm pulling it, and then on top of that, it's not drying. So it's got all kind of things going on. It's like we don't know if we want to stay moist. We don't know if we want to be dry. Then you got possible mold and stuff because our hair can mold. If you're leaving it in for, think about all the bacteria because a warm scalp, our temperature is 98.6 degrees, and you put this bun in your hair. Now you have warmth with water, and that's where bacteria comes in. So, and then you're laying on your pillow. So now you're putting the bacteria on your pillow, and you're sleeping on that on your face. So there's just a lot of things that go into it to where now, if I do a wet bun, it's for like a day, and then I take it out. It's only because I'm in a hurry. And then I take it out, and then I put it in some style where I can fully dry. Or I do my hair in a dry bun.
Aevin, I was going to ask you about that. And I know you've mentioned this before, one of the
Mm-hmm,
earlier webinars that you've done with us, but can you
mm-hmm,
just go through that again? You spoke about, clarifying your hair
mm-hmm,
several times, and you spoke about using a regular shampoo, right?
mm-hmm.
Before, now that you use the gel. But can you talk about the general, how you um, dry your hair? And then again, I know you've mentioned this before, but so that you're not going around with wet hair or going to bed with wet hair regularly.
Okay.
Because I do
So
think that's a big deal for a lot of us. And I don't have half as much hair as you do, but you don't
yeah,
want to just put the blow dry on it. So how do you
yeah.
dry your hair?
Yeah, and let me just say, I hate sitting under the hair dryer. Every time I'm under the hair dryer, I will sit, and I live by myself, and my walls will hear me say, I hate sitting under this hair dryer. But I know it's better for my hair if I just go ahead and dry it because that kind of just seals the deal. Basically, the dryer just seals the product. It seals the moisture that you have in your hair, but of course, don't have it on high heat. Don't have the dryer right here on your scalp. So I let it sit up. I have one of those dryers that, it's a tall dryer. So I just roll it in. And matter of fact, I sit right here where I'm sitting. And, I just let it dry. And then I take a blow dryer to dry my ends. Now, if I were to do a bun, what I would do is put my hair, I already shampoo my hair in 4 sections. From those 4 sections, once I get out the shower and do all, everything else, I am going to spray a heat protectant on it, and I'm going to plait each section into like 2 sections. So that's like 8 sections of hair, right? That's only because my hair has gotten really long and it's really thick. You can just do it in those 4 sections. You're going to look weird, not cute, but trust the process. So then I sit under a hair dryer. I let the dryer, I let the dryer do what it needs to do.
So
Sometimes I do it
you're under the hair dryer with your hair in the
in the
eight
4 plaits.
flats.
Yeah,
Oh,
8 plaits.
okay.
Yeah, 8 plaits. Oh,
Okay.
and when I do the plaits, I plait it, and then I just roll the end. I have these satin covered sponge rollers that I got off of Amazon. I just roll the ends just because I don't like to plait it all the way to the end because I don't want that tightness. So I just brush the hair out because okay, I'm also as I'm plaiting my hair, I'm gonna detangle. I'm gonna plait a little bit, detangle, plait a little bit, detangle. I always like for all my hair to be flowing in the same direction. You know how you just see someone plait the hair all the way to the end, and they're doing this because now the hair is starting to get tangled. Once it does, like when you're trying to, I can't do it on my hair right now, but say if I'm doing this and see how it's tangled at the bottom now. I like to detangle that as I'm going to keep all the hairs flowing in the same direction. Because if I just keep plaiting my hair with that same already now tangled hair, it's going to be extra tangled when I go to take it out, if that makes sense. So it just gives you a smoother plait when you go to take it loose. And what you can do is once you finish drying your hair and use a heat protectant, you can either then blow it out straight. I don't use low heat. I use high heat, but I also use more heat protectant. Low heat to me, I don't know. I just feel like it makes my hair mad because it's not getting my hair, the way I need it to smooth out because it's cold air. So it's just making my hair curl up. And then once it's curled up, and I'm still trying to comb through this curled up hair with the dryer, now my hair is breaking. So I like to use a high heat that's just gonna get it smooth as, not super smooth, but smooth enough. Again, but I also use heat protectant. And then from there, you can spray a little water and use your gel, slick it up into a bun. And then you sit back under the dryer, basically just to dry this part, which doesn't take much time.
Okay, you've literally answered another question I've been waiting to ask you. So
Uh,
you wait until your hair is mostly dry
yes.
before you spray a little more water for the
Mhm.
gel.
Yes. So
So you're
basically,
drying it with just um the gel and the heat protectant.
gel, yeah, and some water because I'm not gonna put gel on dry hair. That's just not what I do. So I spray it to help the gel, to get the edges because I like for my edges to wave up. So to get that to wave back up, I put a little water and then I put the gel, I brush it through, I pull it into the bun. I usually plait the back of my hair until I'm ready to actually bun it. I'll put it in a few plaits. And but then I'll sit under the dryer and basically the only thing has to dry is around here. So all of this. And that doesn't take long at all. It doesn't. It sounds like a lot because of the way I'm talking, but it doesn't take as long as you would think. And then once your hair is styled like that, you can wear that for like a week and without any problems. Because now the only thing to do is keep your edges fresh, spray a little water and a little gel, slick it back down, tie it, and you're good.
That's so great to know. Okay, and I do want to remind folks, I forgot to mention, we are going to have a Q&A at the end. I did see one question come in, and I may as well just go ahead and ask it now, but I want to encourage all of our guests and attendees who want to ask a question, feel free to put your hand up or put it in the Q&A so that I see it, we can get your question asked and answered. So I'll go ahead and ask this question and then we can return to the presentation. But then I just realized that maybe people couldn't see up close as you were demonstrating on yourself.
Oh yeah.
And I definitely want to get to the point where where you can show us the high
Yeah, the actual
line. That
process.
is the
Yeah.
actual, because I think a lot of us do that, but I know we don't do it the way you do and
Mm-hmm.
haven't realized it's actually a protective style.
Yeah.
So the question is, what brands do you recommend for additional moisture?
I don't necessarily recommend a brand for an additional moisture because everybody's hair is different. So I can tell you the brand that's working for me, but I also drink a lot of water. I also live in Louisiana where it's very humid outside. So it really does depend on where you are, as far as how much water do you drink, your diet. Like hair is not just the products and us styling it, it's also our health. So really and truly start with drinking a lot of water, but also you would have to feel out the products yourself because I've seen people recommend, oh, this one is great for this, like actual stylists, because I'm not a stylist. I'm just the guinea pig of natural hair. I've been doing it for over 20 something years. I've done and tried it all. I've messed my hair up, grown it back, and everything else. But to me, you really have to just try things out, read the directions, make sure you use it properly because even I used to do that when I was younger. Just buy a product and put it on my hair and then realize you used it totally wrong. That's why your hair looked like crap. So that's one of those things you would have to feel out for yourself and just look into the ingredients just to make sure you're not allergic to any of that stuff and then go from there and start. You don't have to spend a lot of money. There are products that are on the lower end. You don't necessarily have to start with something super high when it comes to styling your hair.
I'm going to ask a follow-up question to that
Mhm.
in terms of the extra moisture. And I know you have said you do not put anything in your hair in between wash days, but if someone felt like they wanted to, and I'm thinking, for example, I live in Northern California and it's definitely a lot drier than where you
Mhm.
are. And if I didn't feel like it was time to wash again, but I felt like my hair needed more moisture, would it be wet the hair or just go ahead and wash it even more often? Or is there like some type of product?
You probably could try with just washing it a little more often to get your hair used to being hydrated on a more regular basis. Maybe it's that, it just needs to be washed a little bit more, and then your hair will be used to maybe holding on to moisture a little more. Or you can try product. Again, I don't have any specific products. I know glycerin pulls in moisture, but when I've used glycerin on my hair, it made my hair just, but I live in a place that's humid. So maybe try something with glycerin, but not too much because you don't want it to pull in too much moisture, which is then going to make your hair, you're going to have 6-day hair on first day hair. And I know we usually wash our hair and do it on, according to what we have going on. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So I've been asking so many questions. I want to make sure we can get back to the presentation. So
Mhm.
I am going to uh, go ahead and share my screen again and make sure we get through this. And again, everyone, by all means, get your questions ready that you have. Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead. Where
Okay.
were we?
Um, can I start speaking
Oh
again?
yeah, yeah. Oh, by all
Okay.
means, yes. Just
So
yes.
another one that I've looked at, and again, like I go to shops, when I have friends and whatnot, and I've watched people get, sew-ins and whatnot. Again, love how the hair comes out. But those needles that are going through once they braid your hair, it's a hair needle, so it's not like a regular needle. But again, that little wire, every time it's scraping against your hair, because it has to, scrape against your hair, you have to admit that it's probably kind of messing up the shaft of your hair, the strands, and splitting it a little. So just be careful. Find a stylist who cares about growing your hair compared to just someone who's just trying to get your style in so they can move on to the next person. I think that's probably the biggest key. It's not an anti-braid thing. It's not an anti-protective style thing as much as you have to find people who truly care and know what they're doing so that if your goal is healthy hair or healthy and to retain length, aka growing your hair, then you need to find a stylist who's really taking their time, who's really careful and not just trying to do, quick or like when I've seen them put the caps over and then the glue, which I'm like, this glue go into the hair, like all of the, and then I've seen people have to comb glue out their hair. Every time you're doing this, that is again that friction on your hair, and the friction can cause damage to your strands, and then that's where how sometimes people have ends that just stay frizzy and won't smooth down. It may be because of certain things that have been done to where your ends are frayed, so you don't want to do that. And the odd thing is, what I find funny that I've learned over the years, again, I learned this myself. Um, I had went through a period, and I've mentioned before, where I had gone vegetarian, and it was my fault. I wasn't getting enough protein. Because I wasn't getting enough protein, my hair started breaking. I had nuclear was going on. It was like I could take my hair right now and pull it, and pieces of hair. It wouldn't be strands. The strands is shedding, and that's a different type of breaking. It would just be pieces of hair would break out, break off in my hand. And one day I was sitting and I took a picture of myself. Now, can we find that picture, the one with the striped white shirt?
Um, I don't know if it's in this if it's in
It
this
should.
presentation.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it
Oh,
should be.
let me see.
Let me see. Because I definitely sent it. Oh, you know what? Maybe not. So there was a picture that I shared, well, that I'd sent. So basically I took a picture, right? I'll scream if you find it. If not, maybe I can give it to you to show
Yeah,
afterward.
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So there's this picture, and I remember looking, and when something's going on with your hair, and I was like, not only was it breaking, not only was I seeing a bunch of hairs on the bathroom floor all the time, in the shower every time I wash it, it's a whole bunch of C's. And as I said, the C's don't stand for curls, it stands for damaged curls. It does stand for curls, it stands for damaged hair, like my hair is breaking off. And I was like, what is going on with your hair? And so I was like, well, maybe I need a protein treatment. And I was like, but you don't do protein treatments. Like I never was a protein treatment necessarily person. And then it hit me. I was vegetarian. I was like, well, how much protein are you getting in a day? And so that little meme with the calculations floating over your head? That was me. I'm like, Oh, geez. I'm like, I'm not getting any protein. Like I wasn't intaking any protein. Like I'm talking about maybe an egg, that and that was it, like for the whole day. And then small bits here and there of little things like, okay, if you ate a sandwich with one piece of meat on it, that's not adequate protein because I was tired of beans, I was tired of protein shakes. So I wasn't even getting those two simple proteins. I wasn't eating quinoa or broccoli or other ways I just wasn't doing any of that. So that night I ate chicken. I always tell people I went back to meat that night, and I decided to do a yogurt treatment in my hair. So can we go back to the picture where it's a graph, a grid of a whole bunch of them?
Oh,
So
yeah.
basically, yeah, I went back to meet that night, and then right here, and I decided to do a yogurt mask, and I did whole yogurt. I did honey. I put apple cider vinegar. I put eggs because the yellow of the egg is moisture and the white of the egg is protein. So that's extra protein in yogurt, which was already protein. Honey is a humectant, so that pulls in moisture. Apple cider vinegar kind of, it cleanses your hair. It helps with pH, to balance the pH of your hair. I added oils. So I put probably back then olive oil because I wasn't, and maybe avocado oil because I've always liked avocado oil. I put the oils in. What else did I put? I think that was it. Apple cider vinegar, oils, honey, eggs, yogurt. Yes. I mixed it all together. I slathered my hair with it. I left it on for an hour. I shampooed it out really well. And then I went in and I shampooed with a clarifying shampoo. I went with my moisturizing shampoo. Then I put conditioner and did a deep treatment of moisturizing deep conditioner because protein is basically like, if you're eating, how they say protein builds muscle, right? So if you got muscle, then you hard, right? Well, that's the same with your hair. If you build up too much protein in your hair, it's going to snap easier. So you have to be careful with that. And so I did a deep conditioning with moisturizing after doing the protein treatment. And by the next day, you could see the difference in how much healthier my hair was. And it was all because of my diet. That's why I said earlier, drinking water in your diet also make a huge difference in your hair.
That's
Like
amazing.
I love organic Doritos, but if I'm eating organic Doritos all day, I guarantee you I'm going to be picky headed. Like it's just that's just not your hair, it's how with us because hair, skin, nails, right? You know how your skin starts breaking out because you're eating certain things or you're not drinking enough water? They're all related. So if one is acting up, the other one's gonna act up. You may not necessarily notice it as much, but trust me, your hair is just as mad as your skin. It's just that you may not notice it as much. So on this picture on the grid, I started doing wash and goes. And at the time, it's funny because back then I used to do way more with my wash and goes. I would put a leave-in, I would put the gel, and then I would put an oil on top. And I noticed though that my hair, if you look, they're not necessarily in chronological order, but my hair started growing to where I was like, wait, a wash and go actually can help grow your hair. It's somewhat of a protective style. So think about it like this. You know how we always see other races, because there was a whole discussion about races and growing their hair. You know how we see their hair and we just assume their hair grows really fast. We always say that. Well, their hair is known to grow really fast. I'm sure there's some scientific evidence to back it up. But when we were little girls, after a certain age, we start getting our hair combed, right? So you got these barrettes, we have these braids. They're all, and I know why, because you're trying to keep the hair in place because you don't want it to get tangled. But the other races, their hair is just left alone because they just wear it there. They just leave it alone. It's just down. Ours, we start manipulating it. And even though the styles are so cute, it sometimes, like when you see little girls and their braids are too tight, which I see that a lot, that's more damaging. You think you're doing something good for the hair, but you're really not. And it's better to just let our hair hang at night, tie it up with a scarf, put it in a pineapple. If it's too short, just take it and pin it on each side, up and out the way. It doesn't have to be a perfect pineapple. It's just something to, and don't use like a, I don't even, like, I don't use ponytail holders to tie my hair up at night because then it's going to squeeze too tight at the base and then you have that dent in your hair and it looks weird. I just use a little raggedy scarf because it's old, and I just loosely tie it at the top. So there's nothing pulling here. Plus, on top of that, I don't end up with that dent in my hair in the morning. And I would just tie it up at the top and then take it down the next day. I don't fluff it. I don't put a pick in my wash and go until, sorry, I don't put a pick into my wash and go until like maybe it's Friday night and I'm going somewhere and I want big hair. And I know the next day I'm going to wash it and start all over. And when I get in the shower to wash my hair, because the curls are locked in with the gel, basically when you wet your hair, it's just going to drop back down. So when you get ready to detangle it, it's really not that tangled because I didn't pick it out to here, which now makes it start doing all kind of other stuff, which now means I got a whole situation going on. I
Mm-hmm.
just leave it like this. The only reason I picked it today was because I actually did something earlier, a shoot, and I had to pick my hair. But because yesterday I saw you and it was more defined, but normally I don't touch it and I let it grow and get bigger on its own. By the time my hair looks like 7-day hair, it's because it's been 7 days. Or
Yeah.
really not, because I can keep this going if I wanted to. And this is 7 days, 7 hard days. It's been 7 hard days. But the only reason I'm washing it is because it's a little big. And since I'm not going anywhere, there's no need for big hair right now. So I'm just going to wash it and start all over. But a wash and go can actually, if you know how to do it correctly, it can be your best friend. Now, in this picture you put up right here, this
Yeah,
has
let's
been,
talk about this because this really blew my mind.
yes. So this is, I've been doing wash and goes for the most part. I was doing twist outs for a while because I was like, oh, well, let me change up. Plus, I kind of, the gel that I was using just started acting really weird with my hair. So I stopped for just a minute. But I've been doing wash and goes consistently for a year. And this is my hair growth from one year to the next. And this is actually a picture from a couple of months ago. So it's grown more since then. Because like now my hair is past my back and to my butt. So
Yeah, this is a lot of hair growth. Like for
stretch.
me, looking at this
Yeah.
for a 1 year period.
And this actually I should have gotten a better picture because again it's grown since then from here. So it has grown, and all I do is consistent washing goes. I'm really careful. Like I'll show you the scarf I use. I was showing Julie this yesterday.
Oh, hold on. When you show that, I want to make sure that you're full screen.
Okay.
So let me just make sure that everyone can see that. And this is how you get to this beautiful, quick
Yes. Yes.
one. Okay, so let me just put you back on
So
full
yeah,
screen. Yeah.
don't laugh at me, y'all. But this is a scarf. Excuse me. I've been using it since I first, literally. When I needed something to tie my hair to wear a puff, I went looking at my mama's drawer in her bathroom and I found this scarf. And I remember my great grandma had given it to her for Christmas and she had used it a couple of times and it was sitting in there. So I took it and I'm still using it, but she's so raggedy. But the texture, she's so ugly. The texture is so good. I was explaining to Julie, this texture silk, it grips my hair to where if I wanted it to hold like a nice tight, but not tight like that, but nice tight Afro puff, but I wanted it to stop right here, if that makes sense, it's gonna stay and it's not gonna slip and then look silly, if that makes sense. Like if my hair were wet and then I used it to tie it and I just wanted to stop right here, it's not gonna move and it's not going to get tight until I want it to get tight. But it's this little ugly silk scarf. And this is what I use in some of my cutest hairstyles. Underneath them is this scarf. But just know 20 something years of usage. And here we are. And I don't plan, like I told Julie, I actually cried one time because the people lost my luggage and I realized that my scarf was in there and I lost it because I was like, what, what am I, y'all don't understand. So yeah, and yeah, the thought of something even happening to this stuff, I wouldn't know what to do. But I
So
use loose scarf to put it into a very loose bun And a lot of times I just wear the bun once I put it in the wash and go. And even if your hair is shorter, because I know mine is kind of long, even if your hair is shorter, I had to tell someone I spoke at a school yesterday, nobody cares how small your bun is. I have seen Caucasian girls with buns this big and nobody cares. It's just how you rock it. Like nobody's looking for the biggest bun in the world. If your bun is this small, nobody's back there with a tape measure measuring it. So if you have a small, like, it's like, don't even concern yourself with that. Like, because again, a bun is always like a really good go-to.
So I'm going to go back to that picture now
Mhm,
because I do want everyone to realize, or and just have you talk about this again,
mhm.
that when you say that, a wash and go is also protective,
Mhm,
you're doing it right so it's not damaging.
mhm.
And if you could just talk a little bit about how you like to protect your ends by wearing a bun like this, right?
Yeah,
So it's still a wash and go,
right,
but you are protecting um your ends and not wearing your hair out every
right,
day.
right. And it's the crazy thing, even in the wash you go, so I guess I'm gonna take these earrings out because I'm gonna show you how. Can I show them how I do the bun?
Yeah, but I just want did
Okay.
you want to you want to actually show so
Yeah.
I'll stop
Yeah,
sharing.
I
Yeah,
don't mind showing.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to take the earrings and the rings off. But the thing is, yeah, because I don't okay, I know I get it that especially, once your twist out comes out good, you want to wear it every day. But some of the protection of your hair does a lot of it comes from protecting your ends. With that being said, you sometimes maybe get used to wearing styles that aren't necessarily where your ends are out every day, but I am put some earrings on, put a red lip on, and then go because you can't lose with those type of things. So this is like earlier it was like this. I only took it down for this thing. Again, y'all don't laugh at me. I gotta back so I can throw my hair over.
We're not laughing, we're all learning.
So I tie it, and as you can see, it's not tight. I tie it, then I just tie it back here. Let me scoot back up so I can see y'all. So now it's in this ponytail, right? Don't worry about my little string piece. That's just how it is. And I'm rushing, so I may get a little bit of it wrong. So then for me, I took a little bit of hair from this side, and I actually came across this hairstyle by mistake, but now it's one of my favorite things. So I take one side and I just wrap it around. Then I wrap it to the back, and then I take a hairpin like this, and I just stick it back there, right? Because you don't have to push it all the way in because I'm going to take the hairpin out and use it again. So then I take a little hair on this side. And again, if your hair is shorter, you don't have to use all of your hair at one time. If your hair is thinner, just use a little bit of hair. I think this helps to lift the bun a little bit, putting this right here. So again, I take another hairpin and just stick it back there. If that makes sense. I don't put it all the way in. I don't know if you can see that, but
Yeah.
okay. So then I just take my hair and start rolling and tucking, rolling and tucking. And I know, just trust the process, trust me. Just rolling and tucking. Then the hairpin that was back there already, because now it's covering that hair, I just take it and then pin it again. Again, nobody's coming to check your hairpins or any of that. Let me see where this piece comes from. We're gonna tuck that to the back. Then I use a hairnet. Oops. Get a little cheap hairnet. I buy them from the grocery store. As you can see, it's just a hairnet. You're gonna take the hairnet, put it over your bun. And again, if your bun is smaller, that's even better because this one is kind of big. So smaller, just as cute. Another hairpin, stick it, pin it. I'm taking the one out that I already had back there because now the hairnet is covering it, so it won't come out. I just pin it. And again, if your hair is smaller, and then you can do the bun to the back, to the bottom. Like you don't have to put your hair to the top. Another hairpin. And then that is it. So now I have this hair that's in a bun. And of course, I can get it really, really looking good, but I'm doing it on camera. And then that's it. My hair is in this big bun. Let me show you the back. I don't know how the
Yeah.
back is. Yeah. That, and that's that. And my hair is in this wash and go. If I leave it like a couple of days, then when I get ready to take it down, the best part is that it's naturally stretched. But as you can see, I didn't use a ponytail holder to hold it tight. I didn't hold it tight. It's just, but you can use a silk or satin scrunchie. And now here I am with this. Sometimes I don't have a scarf to show you, but I'll tie a scarf around this part, let it hang down the back. And now, I mean, I can wear this, for something like a fancy dinner. I can also wear this to go walk around with my friends.
Yeah.
So this is how I wear my hair in my wash and go to protect it. There's no tension on my hair, as you can see. There's no tension. My hair is being protected. And then if I want to, take it down, wear it out. And then when I'm done, I get back home, I'm going to just tie a scarf around here and then put a bonnet over it. And I sleep like this, and it's super soft because there's nothing pulling on it. There's no tension. So that's why I think a wash and go works really well as a protective style. And that's why I also feel like wash and goes or people who just wear their hair down. Because like people are saying now, and I've been saying it for years, your hair, I realize our hair just wants to be left alone. When I was styling it more, I feel like that's when she gave me more issues. I think she was just like, leave me alone, let me be. So I get getting wrapped up in the styles because I see stuff and I'm like, oh, I want to try that. But be careful because I remember there was a hairstyle I did one time and I loved it. It gave me the most gorgeous fro. But the first time I did it, I lost a lot of hair when it was time to detangle. And I did that style again. This was years ago. And I did that style again. And I lost just as much hair trying to detangle. So I was like, well, I can't do that style anymore. So little things like that are things that help to grow your hair. And then when you want to enjoy it down, take it down. Then after that, just pick it up. But just don't pick it up to where it's too tight and pulling. And then you're not able to shampoo it to get the water in because you need all those things to help with growing your hair.
Thank you. I think, for me, realizing and seeing and learning from you that, there is more than one way to have a protective hairstyle than a wash and go. But wash and go doesn't mean necessarily you're wearing your hair out like this for 7 to 10 days, that you really do have to protect the ends, and you can have a beautiful, elegant updo while protecting your ends. Um,
Right.
and and just how fast and easy you did that. I can't
Mhm.
wait to try it myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without the tension. You don't have to go to bed with wet hair.
No.
You can dry
Yeah.
it, heat protect,
Yes.
and all of it.
And also, okay, if your hair is shorter, don't tie it so tight. Just tie it about right here and then just pin it around there. And that gives the illusion of a bigger bun. And then once you put the hair, and I put the hairnet because it just cleans it up. As you can see, you saw how it looked before I put the hairnet. Once I put the hairnet, that just cleans it up and gives it this whole perfect look.
But you
And
can't
you
see the
saw,
hairnet.
right, exactly. So, and there are blonde hairnets out there. There are brown hairnets. There are red hairnets. I happen to get these from a grocery store that I happen to go to. So I can't tell you where to get the hairnets, but I know for me, these I've been using them for years. I keep them, I buy them like a couple of packs at a time so I don't run out.
Well, it looks fantastic.
Thank you.
And I'm going to thank you. We are at the top of the hour. Thank you to all of our guests who
Oh,
joined
wow.
us. As always, if you're a member of our community and our Crown Club network, you have access to the full webinar through our online community. If you are not already signed up, sign up at styledlife.com or styledlifecrownclub.com. And we welcome Aevin back anytime. She's
Thank
amazing
you.
and we learned so much. Wherever you guys are, have a great afternoon, evening, morning, depending on where you are. And thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thank y'all.